of Supervisors. The renovation, thank you for doing that, when the renovation was started. In addition to that, we are branching out into school board and board of supervisors meetings in order to advocate on behalf of our community. We also have an upcoming state of the school survey that we will be disseminating to students and teachers, staff, current and future Pyramid parents, alumni and alumni parents, Pyramid neighborhood community members, and the Pyramid business community. So please do keep an eye out for that survey. It will be coming very soon. The Wolf Shack, which is our school resource pantry and store, which we are serving up to 300 students just on Wednesdays and Thursday afternoons. It is also open during the day. If students need to, they can see their social worker or counselor to get in during the day. We thank you all for your support on that. It is going well. And we feel like we're doing a good service. We are trying to expand the PAC Partners program, which includes funding for teacher and staff projects and needs, a supportive presence in the building during the school day, and expanding enrichment opportunities for our students. We are trying to focus on morale building, working to supply teacher workrooms and with hospitality supplies on a quarterly basis. And we are attempting to have a quarterly, we'll call it maybe an open gym or a festival maybe for the students that includes games and music and a lounge and places to chat, etc. We always need volunteers and we always need financial resources. So please just keep a lookout for all of those places that I mentioned before, the newsletter and our social media platforms and our website for that information. There is a lot that happens in the background. We absolutely welcome your support. So please do become a member. You can find that information in all the places that I just mentioned. And being a member not only helps us financially, but also allows you to become a part of making decisions and planning our programming. Please encourage your neighbors, your students, and other parents, businesses, etc., to become a member. If you have any questions, please email president@justicehsptsa.org. And on that note, I think if you can see the agenda, the link to the agenda is actually in the chat. We will repaste it again for those who maybe were not on when we pasted it earlier. In the agenda, there is a link to where you can sign up for not only our newsletter, but the schools, the Principal's Justice Junction newsletter and the school's activities newsletter are all part of the News You Choose platform that FCPS manages. And so you can sign up for all of these things and more in the same place. Okay, let me allow everyone on the executive committee to introduce themselves. If you're a bit confused, just know that we have sort of a speaking chair set up in the library where we are. So anyone who's in the room that's going to speak in the meeting will just, it's going to be a bit of a fire drill of the chair switching. So thank you.
Do you want me to do my report now?
Sure, since you're next. You can introduce yourself and do your report, and then Megan and Vicky can.
How do I unmute?
He does it. Oh.
Here.
All right. Okay. There was like two separate ones. Sorry.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Anne Marie Ward, and I am the treasurer for the PTSA this year. And while I'm sitting here, I'm just going to run through the treasurer's report really quickly, and hopefully
You can put a link to that in the chat.
Yeah, I did. I sent it to you if you want to share it on. Okay, perfect. So one of the things that we want to talk about is just sort of where we are through the beginning of this month. And so you can see here our report from Money Miner, which is our accounting software. And I won't go through this line by line, but I just wanted you to kind of see the income that we've had so far. We have collected on the report $560 worth of dues, but actually I checked today and we have had 9 more people join. So it's going to be $650 once we get the next deposit from Member Hubs. In addition to that, we've been selling our spiritware in the Wolf Shack and also at the football games and things like that. And we have brought in $1,500. That number continues to go up as we sell when the Wolf Shack is open after school. And then our other small little fundraiser was a check from Harris Teeter. Unfortunately, they're doing away with that program. They're switching to something different where if you sign up for their delivery program, we get a flat rate. I don't really think that's going to be as successful for us as a fundraiser, unfortunately. So those are our open fundraisers where we're looking for funds for all of our programming. We are also collecting donations specifically for the Wolf Shack, which we'll talk about later. We haven't had a ton of expenses this year so far. The biggest one was buying the spiritware stock, which you can see there we have made up about half of what we spent on the spiritware. So that's great so far. We are anticipating making a profit in that category, but have not sold out yet. Other things you can see, we have to send in the dues for National and Virginia PTA. That's $3.75 of the $10 dues payment goes to state and national. And then there's the things from the summer that we did with the senior sunrise breakfast and the staff appreciation water bottles we bought. Other than that, the Wolf Shack at the bottom, if you just scroll down a little bit, you can see the Wolf Shack has its own income line because we are allowing people to donate funds directly to the Wolf Shack, either by donating with a check or cash, businesses, as well as we have a link on our Member Hub store. And then we also sell a few small things in the Wolf Shack, like snacks and drinks for students. All of that goes into that pot. And that is what's called a restricted fundraiser, which means any of those funds that we raise specifically for the Wolf Shack have to go back into keeping the Wolf Shack stocked with all of the things that that we get on a weekly or monthly basis. And so then if you just look at the second page, you can kind of see where we stand overall. We started the new fiscal year on July 1st with about $10,500. We're at about $7,750 right now, mainly because of the spiritware that we outlaid. And then as the year goes on, we'll keep you updated about where we are in terms of our fundraising and expenses. And if we have to make any additions to the budget, any amendments, we'll do that at a meeting. I'm not sure that we have a quorum right now, Kim, to do any voting at this point.
How many people do we have on? I can't see.
We had 9.
It was up to
Members.
10 with Tiffany. Yeah.
We had 9. We had 9 paid members.
Okay.
The last
still in
I-
October, right? So anybody from last year still can.
Yeah, we just don't have the number.
That
So.
includes us in the room.
I actually did include Paisley.
I did.
Okay.
I think you're a paid member. I think.
Yeah, but I didn't know she wasn't one of the 9 logged in now.
Yeah, no, I counted us plus the
Okay.
actual paid members that are online. I'll just stop there, and if we get a quorum, then we can talk about. I think we're okay right now for the budget. We can revisit in November.
Hi, I'm Victoria Sneed. I am the communications VP on the executive board, and I'm also one of the there's 3 of us, co-directors of the Wolf Shack. So myself, Kim Wilkins, and Kim Lemieux also run the Wolf Shack. For communications, I'm the one that's typically sending out the newsletters, though we have also a newsletter coordinator coming on board. Thank you very much. And you'll often get messages from me through Member Hub, reminding you of important things. If you haven't signed up for News You Choose for the PTSA, I highly encourage you do, because all of the good information is in that, and it comes out every Wednesday. With easy to click through links and information. It really is a one-stop shop for everything that's going on in our front. So I highly recommend that. And I would ask you to actually encourage others to as well, just to make sure that you know what's happening. In terms of the Wolf Shack, as Anne-Marie was saying, the donations, the cash donations that we get that come in, we use to gap shop in between the donations we get from our partners and from individuals. So for instance, this week I was able to shop for additional granola bars and cereals and things that are highly popular in the Wolf Shack that we run out of this week in between sort of other donations. So it's really critical. It's also really helpful with the toiletries, because we tend not to get those from our food donation partners. So we really rely on individual donations, either actual items or the money that comes in for those things. So we very much appreciate those donations. Other ways to support the Wolf Shack. So if you go to our website and you click on Wolf Shack, there's a number of ways that it will show you you can help. But one of them is also the Red Bag program that our partner Food for Neighbors runs. We're actually in a competition right now with Falls Church High School and Annandale High School to try to get up our numbers of Red Bag donors. And so we're gaining on Falls Church, but Annandale's coming up behind us really fast. So if you haven't signed up to be a Red Bag donor, again, it's on the website. It's also in every weekly newsletter that I send from the News You Choose from the PTSA on how to sign up for this. It's really easy. You sign up, they drop a red bag off at your porch or your front door. 5 times a year, you fill it with food from their suggested shopping list, and they pick it up and then they bring it to a central location. We all sort it and we get to divide the donations. It is one of the key inputs we have for the Wolf Shack in keeping that stock. So anything that you can do in terms of signing up for Red Bag or encouraging others is extremely helpful. One last thing, this week we're having a food pantry competition at the football game Friday night against Annandale. So it's the Wolves versus the Adams. And the PTSAs are getting in on the competition, and we're going to see which school brings the most food donations. We put together a list. You'll see it in the newsletter this week. It was in the activities newsletter that went out today, suggested items from the schools, but whoever brings the most food or donations wins, and the winner gets announced at halftime. And the beauty of it all is at the end of the day, we get to split what's donated, and both food pantries win. So please participate in that if you can.
Hi, everybody. I'm Megan Monsky. My daughter is a sophomore here at Justice High School, and I'm very excited to be serving in the role as the secretary and on the executive board. I'll be taking the minutes and taking care of other administrative items. I don't have anything particular to share, so I'll turn it back over to Kim.
Can I do it? Just a document,
To,
like, so that they can see it with the link, because they're not able to.
oh,
Usually you can just
yeah,
do it right here.
like everyone.
Yeah. Okay. Share. Share anyway.
I can do it.
Okay. And we just do it individually then.
Mhm.
and then- Normally you can do it all at once. I don't know why it's not working here.
Hi, everyone. We are going to skip the approval of our minutes for our last meeting until the November meeting due to some technical difficulties. Before I move on to the principal's report, I just want to mention a couple things. When we do our online meetings, one of the things we like to do is make sure before somebody speaks that they say their first and last name, and that they turn their camera on, just to sort of maintain an appropriate level of decorum and discourse. On that note, on the communications note, we were the recipient of a Celebrate Fairfax organization grant to help us widen our access to non-English speaking community members, school community members. And while we're still working out the details with them, our plan as an organization is to do three things going forward in the near future. One is to upgrade our online meetings platform so that we have an elevated level of language tools. Second is to pay our own translators. And third is to order our own translation headsets and receivers, which will work for in-person programming, but also have multi-use with the online meeting platform as well. I just wanted to point that out. We will move to the town hall portion immediately following Principal Narcisse's report. Principal Narcisse.
Hello, everyone. I did just turn my camera on. I am going to turn it back off. I had to take an emergency trip down here to Louisiana to take care of something with my daughter that had an emergency. So please excuse me not being present today. However, I would like to thank Christy Hanlon, our DSS, for filling in as the physical administrator on my behalf. As far as the principal's report, I do not have an actual copy, but I do want to make sure that I talk about just our I'm homecoming. We had a great turnout for back to school night this a couple weeks ago. We did a different format. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback. We also have gotten some feedback and input on how we can continue to utilize that format, but increase it or just make some changes so that everyone is able to get to the classrooms and even communicate better where departments will be. So thank everyone who participated in our back to school back to school night with the new format. Another thing that I would like to just celebrate is our homecoming this past weekend. We had a great turnout to our game. We did not win the game. However, we had a great turnout as well as our homecoming dance. Thank you to those parent volunteers that were able to step in on Saturday night and volunteer. Everything went very well. The setup, the SGA leadership team did an amazing job. The students had a great time, and I just want to thank everyone who supported those efforts for our homecoming and dance. Our hiring, we were more security. We were going through the process this time last month. However, both of those did fall through due to HR matters that are out of our control. But we are going through the process again to get more security, just so we are continue to be present, support our safety and security priorities at Justice High School. So just, you know, when they were posted, we got the resumes, we're going through the interview process again for that security. I don't have any other updates. Ms. Hanlon, can you give us our updated enrollment, please? The number? I didn't hear.
Okay.
It's a big room.
Okay,
Sorry.
I didn't hear the updated enrollment number.
Yes, we are currently at 2369, so 2,369 students. As of today, we do have 10 new registrations on the book this week, so we'll at the end of the week we'll be at 2379.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hanlon. I think that's it for what I have for right now. We just had our senior parent college night, and we also included some information for our seniors, and we celebrated our National Merit Commended student, Deborah. Did I pronounce her last name right? Yelima Hanlon. I'm so sorry. I want to make sure that I pronounced her last name correctly.
Devora, somebody?
Deborah,
Oh.
Yelima.
Yelma,
Okay.
she
Yelma.
created her at the senior college night. She is our one National Merit Commended student. It was out of 50,000 nationwide students who received the commended student. And she is the one who won it at Justice, and actually she is the one, we haven't had a commended scholar since COVID, so we're very, very excited that she was able to win this award.
Thank you so much. Kim, I think that's it that I have right now off the top of my head. And again, I apologize. I know the last time I had to leave early, this time I actually had to just leave the office and catch a flight. So thank you for allowing this platform in order for me to join in using this method. So
No.
I'm open for any questions.
In 1.7 miles, turn right onto Highland Road.
Sorry, that's my GPS. I'm down in
That's
Baton
okay.
Rouge, Louisiana, guys.
That's okay. That's okay. Thank you for joining us, even though, life happens, we understand. Thank you for still calling in. Before I move on to follow-ups from last month's town hall and then new topics for the town hall, does anybody have any questions for Principal Narcisse on anything she's already spoken about specifically? Okay, I don't see any hands raised. Okay, great. So moving on. Principal Narcisse touched briefly just now on security, building security. I know that when we spoke last, everything was full up at 5. You were cutting out a little bit, so I know that the hires weren't able to be made. So Ms. Hanlon, maybe you can tell us, you can just do across the room, how many full-time and how many part-time security staff do we currently have, and what is the goal of the number?
We have 3 full-time and we're trying to hire 2 more.
Okay, so 3 full-time, Ms. Hamlin said, and that we're trying to hire 2 more full-time. Can you give us an idea of either Ms. Narcisse, if you want to answer on the call, or Ms. Hamlin, what are the impediments to us continually not having a full security staff? Like these administrative, central office, pay?
I can respond to that. It mainly boils down to the pay. That's what it is. We post, and it's a pay. For the most part, they have to have a certain level of experience to get the top pay. And the talent that we're receiving are entry level. So getting the entry level pay is sometimes a problem for some who, want more. So it's again, it's an HR matter that's, something we can't deal with, but these are also positions that I've had to pay for. So as for the school, we only get 4 no, 3 allotted safety and security positions. I've traded in to pay for 2 extras. And this is across the division where the high schools are only allotted 3 safety and security. And that includes the safety and security specialist and 2 assistants.
Oh, and just for everyone's
At the light,
education,
turn
I'm
right
going to
onto
ask.
Highland Road.
I'm going to ask follow-up questions just for everyone's education, and also because we're recording these and posting them on our YouTube channel so that people can refer back and glean information from these town halls. So when Principal Narcisse says, and you just correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just trying to expedite the process. When Principal Narcisse says that the county gives every high school 3 full-time security staff, and she has to trade for 2 additional staff out of her budget, what that means is that she's been allotted a certain amount of money for personnel. I'm very oversimplifying, so you guys can jump in afterwards. And she has to make decisions on what other personnel not to have if she wants to have these other 2 security personnel. Would you say that that's accurate?
That is correct.
Okay. And so when I mentioned earlier about us trying to do some advocacy, one of the things that we are looking into is what is this formula that the school board uses to determine what level of staffing they give to each school, and that it appears currently that the formula does not provide parity for all schools, that some schools need a different formula used because we have different populations and we need different things in order to meet the same level of success. And so that's one of the things that as an educational advocacy group that we are looking at. But I just want to make sure everyone understood what she meant when she said that.
Let me also interject and state that let's say we are to get these 2 that we've traded for. Remember, they're 1-year only contracts. So that's another deterrent for people when they are choosing to take on the position or not. I mean, most people want to work more than 1 year. And so that's been a challenge and a barrier for us for a few years.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions about security personnel or building security in general to follow up from last time? Hearing nothing and seeing nothing in the chat. We will move on to a follow-up about accreditation. In the chat, we're posting a link to my eyes, I'm sorry.
School quality.
To explanation and information background about accreditation. So that's for everyone's edification. We hope to have somebody from the central office at our next meeting to answer some of the questions that families had last time about the accreditation process in general. But in the meantime, please see this link, and I will try to remember to put that in the newsletter just so people can have it if they want to, and maybe a couple other resources. I'm asking the room if is there any other follow-up we needed, and is there anybody on the call or in the room or that would like to follow up on anything from last time before we move to new topics?
So we're having somebody come to talk more about accreditation in our next meeting, correct?
That's our goal.
That's our, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay. Back to school night. Does anybody have any questions or comments about back to school night? In the room or on the call? Okay. I am anecdotally sort of combining other people's commentary with my own, which is pretty similar to what Principal Narcisse already spoke about. It was a little hard to hear you, Principal Narcisse, going in and out, but I think I got the gist of what you were trying to say. One of the things that it seemed like the effort was a combination of, it was almost like sort of like some people were having mini conferences. And so my one request is, I think either we make time for the previous way, which was allowing the teachers to do a short presentation and then letting the room, the parents ask questions. And the reason why I feel like that was so important was because we often, for the reason we do this town hall, for example, we often learn from other people's questions and other information that other people have to share. And so for me, that was a piece that I was missing from this time. I personally am an extrovert, so I'm going to get my questions asked and be heard. And, you know, I'm going to do what I need to do. But I was a little concerned for other people who are sort of introverted. People were having to wait in line while they were talking individually with other teachers. You know, and I went into some rooms where like one teacher, it was dark and she was sort of like doing mini presentations like every few minutes. So I was sort of like interrupting when I came. So I think that is a both and situation. I think there's some really positive things about being able to kind of go around, but also maybe it could be in combination with the other way. And maybe that's a way to divide the hours, something like that. Just I'm all about new ideas, so I like that we try new things. I felt like that was sort of that piece where we were directly learning from the questions, and all of that was missing. And I think you did say that we'll make adjustments for, you know, we didn't realize that the teachers weren't going to be in their CIS listed classrooms. So when some of us didn't have the list, that was a little confusing. But I think, but yeah, but anyway, thank you for trying something new, and hopefully our feedback will be able to revise, you know, make it even better next time. Anybody else on back to school?
There's 2 comments.
Okay, good. Here you
I think I can hear me. Yeah, it would have been helpful to have maps, but otherwise it was a great event. It was nice to have a free flow to see the teachers on our own schedule, and staff in the hallways were helpful. And I guess for myself, I'll just say, I think I can see advantages to both things, both ways of doing it. The only hitch we kind of hit is when there was a teacher that had 2 separate classes, 2 completely different classes, and people came in from both classes to talk about what's going on in that class, and she had to pick which one to talk about, or somebody had to wait for a while. That was the only thing that's really disadvantageous about that.
Thank you for the feedback.
I was just gonna say how much I appreciated just to echo the comment in the chat, the staff in the hallways were super friendly and super helpful. And it was nice to actually just see all the various staff, not just the teachers.
Did you all hear that? On the
Yes,
call?
we heard the comment.
Okay, thank you. I'm trying to get my tech set up straight here, so I don't know what you can hear and what you can't. Okay, great. So next topic is very briefly, hopefully, parking. Parking. I just want to, I think as most people probably know, but if not, there is a Justice Community Working Group, which was established by the Board of Supervisors when they approved the renovation of our school. This committee is made up of people that were appointed by our Mason District Supervisor, Penny Gross, and our Mason District School Board Representative, Dr. Ricardi Anderson. This group meets monthly to execute their mandate to research options for parking, transportation, and our facilities for the next bond cycle. Essentially, that's what it's about. So as part of that, I do sit on it, and as part of that, sometimes I get pieces of information. And so one of the things that I've learned is that apparently there are staff and visitors who are taking student parking spaces. throughout the day because of the cycle of when some students might leave for academy or when later teachers might be coming in at a different time or part-time, or visitors obviously come to and fro. Specifically, somebody talked to me about teachers having to take student spaces because there were no other spaces for them. That is the specific thing I was told by a staff member. I'm just throwing that out there to see if anybody else has any comments or questions in that regard. And anything on
Hey,
that?
Kim, I can address that. When it was brought to our attention that staff were parking on the street and instead, and I think this was after the first meeting, we did make an announcement. We also put it in our newsletter. We did inform staff about that. I think what happened, or where we, and this is our wondering, were they parking there because buses? So when the buses come in, they blocked them and the buses were coming late. Now they're back on regular time. We haven't received any other complaints since then. And since the buses have been coming in at their regular time and leaving by 3:15. So if you're still hearing complaints, they haven't gotten to me since our first meeting. But I would like to know if we're still encountering that, where staff are parking on the street in the available student, like unpaid spots.
Yes, I think they're parking in the paid spots. Staff are parking in the paid student spots. That's what somebody told me this week, but I will redirect them to you for more information.
And when that does happen, usually Mr. Wall, the student would tell Mr. Wall, and it's immediately taken care of. And I usually get reports of if a staff is parked there. But please, by all means, let us know if that is continuing.
I mean, I don't think it's a staff member's fault. I just think it's like a general, it's just an issue. So I just wanted, so we're all aware, we're all struggling. I parked illegally today for half the day because I had to come and haul all this stuff into the library, and they literally were no spots. I had a whole cart full of stuff, and I was like, well, that's what I'm going to do. So I did. And so I understand, like, it is going to be a struggle, but I only bring it up so that everyone is aware. We're kind of making note, mental note, video note, just kind of recording these things going forward. There have been questions, and this I'm just going to throw out there for posterity, and because we're in October, so this can be discussed later. But there have been questions about parking pass distribution process for students for next year. So I know that will be further looked into. I just added it as a note here because it had been brought up as to, possibly making that a lottery and not, just not having, it'd be like a free, for survival of the fittest, first come, first serve kind of situation this year. Does anybody have any further questions or comments about parking pass distribution for students that we could edify the staff on or ask questions while we're here so that they can at least have this information going into whenever they start planning it? Okay, great. So class registration process. We had questions about so it gets kind of sticky when the new school year starts about when we get the schedules, like right when school's starting, and parents, there's, if there's errors, if there's things that need to be changed, it's a long time. A lot of times, there's that waiting period where, it's like 3 weeks or more into the quarter. So one of the suggestions, I guess, or questions is it possible to, since the students are registering in, February, March, is it possible to, by the end of the year, distribute draft schedules so that there's more time for parents and students to review the draft schedules and get back to you? And then, the staff has the summer to deal with it, and it's not so challenging for parents and students or you guys in the beginning of the year.
No, that's definitely.
Oh, I don't think they can hear you. Yeah. You're much more soft-spoken and Victor said.
That's definitely a great suggestion. We actually did that 2 years ago in the spring. We mailed out all of the course requests, it was sort of a 3-week window in early May to do changes, and then did changes over the summer. And it got a little complicated because students were just changing their schedule multiple times. So then this past spring, what we did is we said no changes. And then over the summer, we had a 3-week window that we allowed schedule changes. And then again, when we opened in the fall process of schedule changes hasn't changed. And really the main issue is we have so many students who are out of the country and come back after school starts. We have to make sure that there's space for those students to allow them to start in their schedule before we can do changes. So, but it's definitely something that we are, I think it's worth considering and reviewing, is going back to what we did 2 years ago, which is sending out, we call it a dummy schedule. It's just a list of courses, and to allow that chance to change it again in early May, end of April.
Okay, excellent. Does anybody else have any questions or comments on registration of classes or course selection or anything like that?
I guess I had a comment. I'm coming.
What I gotta do here.
So my only question about class choice and sort of, I guess it's the broader guidance question. We have a number of very new guidance counselors this year. I've met them, they're lovely. But my concern is someone whose child is or very much desires to be on the IB path, has already started on that. How are we? I mean, that's a complicated thing. I mean, I have known counselors who've been very experienced that like have to double check and sort of recalibrate like how that works. Can I ask what the like I'm going to use the royal we are doing to sort of bridge that kind of education gap for our new counselors in terms of making sure that if a student really wants to be on that IB diploma path, that someone's making sure they're actually going to get there in those choices, because the kids themselves don't always understand when they're making the choices what that means, you know, for the next step. So my son was conveying to me that a couple of his friends did not take the chemistry they needed to take apparently, and didn't realize that this year, which I'm actually not sure. There's some weird choices there. So I wasn't quite clear what he was telling me, but then it just became this broader question of, you know, how do we know? Like, how does the student know how to go in and make those choices?
While we're waiting for Miss Hanlon to cross the seas to get here. To follow up on that, there was a similar, there were parents that came to me similarly, and actually was about chemistry, because there weren't enough sections, I was told or they were told, of IB Chem, and they were going to have to be in regular or Gen Chem or whatever they call it. And so that is, I think, maybe where that did come from.
Maybe that's it. Yeah.
Well, first of all, I just want to address with Stephanie Villamoria. She's our IB coordinator. She is the one who handles all those conversations. I will say that the new counselors who came to us, luckily one came from Robinson. He was familiar with the IB lens, because Robinson does offer both. But the new counselors got training over the summer, 2 days worth of IB. IB is very, very complicated, and there's a lot of different nuances. You know, they know to bring in Stephanie Villamoria, who has been in all those conversations. Stephanie is also planning a parent night, I believe, in January, right before we go into academic advising, specifically to talk about all things IB, talk about the different pathways. answer any questions from parents. And so, please look forward to that piece. We will be at our 9th and 10th grade parent night. We do focus a little bit on the IB just to allow those parents to understand the pathway of all the different classes, the need to have 3 standard levels, 3 higher levels, plus all of the extras, the theory of knowledge, the extended essay, and the creativity action service. So we do go over that there. And, I think it's just a matter of communicating with Stephanie. I know in particular, your son's case finally did have a conversation with her. They sat down together and mapped it out. It's really Stephanie Billamore who needs to map out those pieces, because she is our IB coordinator and does need to know who is doing the diploma and who's just taking IB classes. In terms of the IB chemistry, so there's 2 pieces to that. All the IB schools don't offer chemistry honors. We offer what's called advanced chemistry for IB schools. It's a very long title. And this was a title designation actually that came down from IB organization. And so the students all take our equivalent of chemistry honors in 10th grade, advanced chemistry for IB schools. And that advanced chemistry allows that student, if they wanted to take IB Chem standard level 2, which is year 2 of the IB course. All IB sciences are 2 years. And so that section, it's really based on student selection. We actually did not have enough students to run 2 sections of IB Chem SL2. Again, that's year 2. And this course can be taken in junior or senior year. Whereas IB Bio and IB Physics you can only take year 2 and senior year. And so that's what it came down to, was we didn't have enough students sign up for the course. We only ran 1 section. We did have a very small wait list that we started actually over the summer. It consisted of 3 kids. And we had kids who dropped out of the course, and those 3 kids are now in the course. So I would say if there's people who are interested in IB Chem standard level year 2, they need to sign up for it. I know that teacher would love to have them. So, if we have enough people who sign up for the course, we do allow for 2 sections. So.
Okay. Anybody have anything else, questions or comments on student services, registration, anything of the like? I neglected to bring up the bathrooms in our follow-up section. And I don't know, it was Ms. Lawley that was handling that in our last townhouse. I don't know if Principal Narcisse or Ms. Hanlon have any follow-up to that. But one thing that was going to be checked on was the fact that we had parents and students talking about the fact that there are reports of students not being allowed to use the restroom during a class period, either because the pass is missing or some such thing. So we just wanted to be able to make sure that we got sort of the response to that as to, what is the protocol for the staff for handling those situations, so that even if there's somebody in the class who's taking advantage of it, or the pass is missing or something, that people who actually need to go to the bathroom can go to the bathroom. Because it's not an uncommon thing. We've heard from a lot of students and families about this, about having to just wait to use the bathroom. So I don't know if
I can address that. After the last
No, and then she was gone.
Tiffany, we lost you. Principal Narcisse, we lost you. I don't know if you can hear us. We cannot hear you.
take heed to that. But as far as the passes and students not being allowed to go, we did address that to our teachers, and teachers, everybody has a pass. And if they do not have a pass, they are allowed to write the written pass, the paper pass for students. I haven't heard anything else since that meeting, but we
Great.
did make sure we addressed that in writing along with the parking stuff too.
Super, thank you so much. Question on stadium rules. We currently have a few policies that do not seem to be consistent with other high schools. And so I'm wondering if somebody can speak to that. The no posters, the no noisemakers, I just forgot what the other one was. Yeah, and blocking people from including adults from leaving and getting something from their car, coming back, whatever, just that general. Yeah. And the bag
Is
searches.
it possible you can gather those questions and we can include our student activities office on this? I'd hate to misspeak. And if we can get those questions to our student activities, we can make sure that we respond appropriately.
Okay, super great. And then we'll add that to the follow-up list for next time, what our stadium rules are in comparison to other FCPS schools. Great. Open floor. Anybody have, just like last time, any questions, comments, suggestions, compliments, etc.? This is the time. It's just an open session, so we can all learn from each other, get some answers, and share it, with the community that wasn't present for the meeting. Anyone in the room? On the line, online?
Could I add just a comment on the stadium rules conversation we were having? Sorry, this is Vicky again. Just a note, I know we'll have the activities office and we'll discuss it a little further, but I actually was not even at the game on Friday night. Wasn't feeling particularly well, but I have since had 2 or 3 conversations with different people who walked away with a very kind of negative feeling about the security and some of the procedures at the game on Friday night. And like I said, I wasn't there, but I've since heard it from multiple people. The bag searches, the long line, the no in and outs, that it felt
institutional.
Yeah, institutional, as if, but also, I'm going to try to say this in the nicest way possible. Our student community and some of our parents are very sensitive to sort of how our school is viewed by other schools, by other students, by parents. I can tell you it's a real issue amongst the kids that they feel very viewed as less than in comparison to some of the other schools that we play against, that we interact with. They know students from other schools who have better resources, or and I put better in air quotes because, but still the feeling very much was, by the way we ran it and by the way that felt, that our school is sort of a scary place to come.
Yeah.
They were very uncomfortable, as if it wasn't safe to come to a game here because they had to practically, empty their bags. They couldn't go to their cars to get a coat or forget something. I mean, I would encourage us. I know the balance that we're striking between not wanting things to happen and security but we really need to consider the message that we're sending about our students and our community and our school. And for people that I wouldn't even anticipate to walking away with that feeling, I really think that it calls for some serious reflection in how we're treating our students and our community and the impression that we're giving of our school. That would be my comment. And like I said, I know all the factors that go into it, but that's a big one. And I really don't want people to walk away with that feeling. And I definitely have always really felt badly that some students really
internalize that perspective of our school. So I just want to make that comment.
I'd like to respond to that, and I want to make sure that everybody understands the method behind everything. The reason why we have been incident free at our games is because of the measures that we've put in place, and it is for safety and security. And I'm sad that, or I'm sorry that people feel like it's too much or it's sending a wrong message, but it is a safety and security matter. Out of the majority of our high schools, we are one who have not had any incidents or, you know, anything that can prohibit the game from being stopped, or, you know, illegal things coming into the building. And believe it or not, because of the bag check, we have intervened. We have intervened many times that most people don't even know, because we have that system in place. But it is all for safety and security. So when the kids are out there, when the families are out there, when our community are out there, they're having a good time and they don't have to worry about anything that can potentially happen. Our goal is to make sure that we're continuing to provide that level of security, because we live in a different space, in a different world, and it's my job to make sure we're doing the utmost to protect our community. I will always stand by that, and I'm so sorry that it does give a what some may think is a bad look or negative connotation, but I'd rather have that than have an incident go down because we did not have those measures in place. Of course, nothing is fail proof, right? Or you know, there's always a potential for something, but because you know, things that are going on in our community, not only that, but in quite a few of the schools across the division, we've had to really stand firm on checking bags and kids going in and out. Believe it or not, we have encountered a lot of situations that involve just inappropriate and or illegal matters that we've intervened a lot on these past couple years with the systems and measures that we've put in place safety wise. So I do want to make sure everybody understand the method behind it. It's for everyone to stay safe, to stay safe, in addition to intervening for kids. Like you guys just don't, and I, for confidentiality reasons, I can't go into detail, but we have saved lives by utilizing this method. Literally saved lives.
I think maybe the conversation that can be had with the activities office, and we can discuss it further in the next meeting, for me are twofold. One is that it has been suggested, and I do think it's a correct suggestion, that how we manage our security process logistically can be handled differently to give a different feeling. There's a difference between one, I think there's a difference between searching student bags and searching guest adult bags. I mean, I literally heard one of the guest visitors, like this middle-aged couple, literally was like, what are you all looking for? Like they were, I mean, it was very, I mean, we go to large venues, professional venues, where the search isn't like that. So I think maybe instead of, and there's only one line, right? So maybe even having a line for people with bags and having a line for people without bags. And also just the tone and the tenor, which with the people are executing these searches, I think also matters. When you have a good customer service attitude, and are, you know, assessing the need to search a student bag versus just a regular, you know, purse, you know, I think that's one thing. The other thing is that, you know, in terms of the exit, you know, you really legally can't allow people not to leave, especially adults. And even if we had to charge people in order to come back in, fine, then charge people to come back in if you don't want to stamp people to go out. But that function, that doesn't exist anywhere else. And so it's really hard to explain to people why that makes that part of it makes them safer. Because regardless, if you're coming in back in or in the first time, the search can still be done, and it can still be done in a manner that is less of a bottleneck and less negatively done, to be frank. I also think that the other rules that are, I mean, I literally had my sister-in-law was like bringing something for her someplace for Westfield, freshman. And she said, hey, I'm coming tomorrow, you know, just want to make sure you're there. We have these posters. And I was like, you can't bring them. And she said, what are you talking about? She's like, we've been to a ton of games. And I was like, I don't know. We don't allow posters here. We don't allow noisemakers. And to me, those things are just part of the spirit. They're part of the fun. And it's part of what's making the environment feel institutional. And just the idea that, you know, if you bring posters, they can be checked. You know, you can just look at the poster and see there's nothing foul on it, and people can be about their way. We had alumni sitting in the stands in homecoming this year asking, where are the bobbleheads? You know, where is this, where is that? I'm like, I don't know. We don't allow posters, you know? And, you know, even simple things like schools sell noisemakers for fundraisers. They sell cowbells, they sell whatever. We can't even, I mean, I just feel like it's palpable. It's palpable. And especially as people who are avid volunteers, people who are trying to increase community engagement, people who are trying to, who are very conscientious about how our students how our students' school is seen and how they feel about how their school is seen and the environment of the school. You know, I take it deeply personally, actually, and I feel like it's hard to explain why it feels that way, but it definitely felt and feels different. And so I'm hoping that we can have an open conversation, as you mentioned, with the activities office about how we can maintain security, but also do it in a way that is customer service friendly, logistically sound to keep people moving, and makes people still want to come and be and have fun, you know, because that is why we're out here. It shouldn't be drudgery to come watch a game. So thank you for listening. Does anybody else have any comments related to that or any other topic that you want to bring up before we close out the town hall? Anything at all about anything? This is your chance, guys. Everybody always has comments and things in the background. So
I don't need everybody to hear, but if there's going to be a conversation about all of this,
I think you should come in, Marie, because it's hard. Yeah.
Hey, I won't belabor the point, but I just wanted to say, based on what Kim was talking about, if we're going to continue the conversation about sporting events, I really feel like we need representation from different types of people, because I will say, you know, I don't bring my 10th grader anymore who has disability because it's just too difficult. And I think it would be helpful if, you know, people could share, you know, things that could be done without like having to draw attention to yourself when there's a huge line of people. So I think that that's just something that it should be a conversation that is not just the people that always come to these meetings. So thank you.
Okay, last call for any at all comments or questions or anecdotes to share, compliments, anything. Purpose of the town hall is to give all the people who always have something to say in the background a chance to ask or share. And so we can learn from each other and bring things to the forefront. So anything we talked about tonight, we'll follow up again on next month.
Sorry, quick comment. I just wanted to say from what I've seen, the alumni that came in for homecoming had a great time. They seemed to enjoy being on school grounds and
Can you read the comment?
completely enjoyed themselves. Sorry?
Can you read the commenter's name?
That's me.
Oh.
James Wilkins.
Ready for the chat. That's
No,
hilarious.
just my experience.
That's hilarious. Okay, great. To add to that note, actually, I will say that there were also people that tried to get in during third quarter, and they tried to turn them away saying that they weren't going to let them in. I'll just summarize. But in most of my time here, after halftime, people have gotten in free. And so
Kim,
that's
that was an error on my part. That was quickly addressed and they were allowed in. That was an error on my part.
okay, thank you. So any new business, just to make sure we can get out of here, what we're going to do with new business is if you could please put any questions or comments that you would like us to address going forward, either at the next meeting or in between this meeting and the next meeting, please put it in the chat or please email me at president@justicehsptsa.org. Our next meeting is general meeting and town hall is on Monday, November 6th at 7:30. We will be in person again here in the library and on Zoom. The Zoom links are always the same and there's no registration required because it is open to everyone, not just to members. But again, we encourage you to sign up to be members so that you can vote and be a part of decisions that we make and a part of programming and supporting what we're trying to do. Thank you to Principal Narcisse. Thank you to Ms. Hanlon. Thank you to the executive committee, to James Wilkins and to Paisley Wilkins, who is in the room with us today. Thank you to everyone who chimed in online. Thank you.
We done?